Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Wednesday. No, it's not September. It is now October the 1st. There you go. 2025. Can you believe that we are now in October? The weather hasn't got the memo. It's still very chilly this morning. I think it was about 6 degrees when I left the house. But it is what it is. But yeah, hard to believe it's the start of October. Christmas decorations starting to get around. Of course, Halloween decorations around if you're into that sort of stuff as well. But yeah, how time flies. Well, let's get started on this day. Well, first of all, probably not a good one. It's not boxing related, but definitely a day of infamy in this world was the shootings in Las Vegas, the biggest mass shooting in American history. Took place on this day in 2017, and it's a strange one because I was actually there, I think the week before. I think it might have been maybe a week and a half or something before that. We'd been there with the Maloney boys. I think it was for Triple G and Canelo 1. It was, yeah, so it would have been 2017. Actually, might have been 2 weeks, whatever it was, but we'd been there and we actually stayed at where did we stay? Was it either Excalibur or Hooters? I think it might have been. I think it might have been Excalibur, which is pretty much a stone's throw away from where it all happened at the Mandalay Bay. But yeah, in absolute shock when all that happened. And as always with these things, lots of conspiracy theories and everything getting around. But this is what happened on this day, as I said, or that's what happened on this day back in 2017. Also on this day, on a good news story, was one of the greatest fights of all time, and the trilogy, or the final fight in the trilogy of one of the greatest rivalries of all time. I'm talking about Muhammad Ali and Smokin' Joe Frazier. They fought on this day in the Philippines in what was called the Thrilla in Manila. And of course they fought in 1971 for the first fight. Geez, I hope I got that right. Someone will correct me. Then the next one was in 1974. This one was in 1975. So, of course, we all know what happened in the first fight. Joe Frazier upset the previously undefeated. Well, might call it an upset. To a lot of people, it wasn't. But he beat Muhammad Ali over 15 brutal rounds. You remember Muhammad Ali had just sort of come back from 3 years out of the ring, with not going into the draft for the army, and Joe Frazier had won the heavyweight title and was just itching for that fight with Muhammad Ali. Well, he got it, beat Muhammad Ali. They did fight, as I said, in 1974 in the rematch, but it was a little bit of a lackluster affair. It was at Madison Square Garden, didn't really hit the heights of the first one. And they decided to do this one, the year after Muhammad Ali had upset himself, George Foreman, in the 8th round in Kinshasa, Zaire. And the interesting one, a lot of people say, why the hell was this fight in the Philippines? Well, even like today, back then, countries and cities and all that sort of stuff paid big dollars to have big events in as I said, in the cities or countries, whatever it might be. And the Philippines, led by, was it Marcos was his name, the Philippine president. He wanted to change the perception, I suppose, of the Philippines, get the Philippines' name out there in the world. And they paid big dollars to get this fight to Manila. And because it's in this part of the world here in Australia, same sort of, well, I suppose same sort of time zones. The fight took place at 10 a.m. in the morning, and even then they said the heat was absolutely stifling, and when you're in the arena, apparently from people that were there, you could barely get a breath out, so you can imagine what it was like in the actual ring under the TV lights and everything like that. And I think they actually did a test on the day of the temperature in the ring, and I think they said it was 49 degrees, which is about, I think, 120 Fahrenheit. So just stifling heat in there. The lead up to it, of course, was fun and games. I think they said that Joe Frazier actually lived up in the mountains of the Philippines, and sort of had like almost like a Buddhist retreat up there, like a lot of meditation and all that sort of stuff up there, preparing. Really just shut himself off up there in the mountains. Muhammad Ali would have just done his usual thing, I gather. Purses for the fight, 9 million, I think it was for Muhammad Ali. I think it was 5 million for Joe Fraser. I mean, it doesn't sound much these days, but I suppose back then it was massive amounts of money. I suppose these days you could time it by 10, so would that make it 90 and 50, probably even more. You would think that this day and age they'd probably get more than that. But the figures I sort of saw for the fight, watching it, they set up to about 1 billion people watched it. I think that's a little bit sort of far-fetched, but they reckon... yeah, I think back then, of course, it was a lot different to these days with closed circuit theatres and satellites and all that sort of stuff, where these days it's streamed and whatever else. But I think they said at least 100, I can't remember, I'm sort of grasping at straws a little bit there as far as the figures goes, but I think that 1 billion's a little bit far-fetched. Maybe it was in total over the X amount of time or whatever, I don't know. But either way, a lot of people watched it. I would probably think that the Ali-Foreman fight would have had even more views. And isn't it funny though that whether it was 1 billion or whatever, it doesn't really matter, but isn't it amazing that back then it didn't need all the, to put it out for free like they do on Netflix. It didn't need a YouTuber like Jake Paul. It was just 2 legendary boxers with no extra conditions around the fight or anything like that. As I said, it wasn't free. You had to pay for it, closed circuit, pay-per-view, all that sort of stuff. And they still managed to get that sort of attention on it. It was just 2 great fighters going to war, and people went to see them, whether it was live or on pay-per-view, closed circuit, whatever it was, where these days we need some sort of angle to get those amount of eyeballs on the sport. And you throw in George Foreman there as well. Just the 3 of those guys together, Foreman, Ali and Fraser, they were able to do it without the Turki Al Sheikhs of the world. Just put on a great fight, a great event, and it was the hottest ticket in town, not just in town, but the world at the time, and the amount of people watching was just out of control. So you remember the fight itself, again, brutal. I think from memory, Fraser's game plan, which wasn't rocket science, was to batter Muhammad Ali's body as much as he could, hit him on the hips, the elbows, the shoulders, wherever he could hit, especially if Muhammad Ali tried the rope-a-dope tactics that he tried successfully with George Foreman. It was to just to hit everything and to sort of slow him down that way, and he did, and he had a lot of success. I thought at various times in the fight that Joe Fraser had Muhammad Ali even to the verge of, I won't say maybe stopping him, but really on the verge of having Muhammad Ali in some trouble. But typical Joe Fraser style, he left it all in the ring. He fought every round, or every minute of every round, gave everything he could, and by the 14th round, he just had enough. And he didn't retire his corner. Eddie Futch threw in the towel and said, "My boy's had enough." And I think afterwards, Muhammad Ali was actually quoted as saying it's the closest he's ever come to death. And if if Joe Fraser's corner didn't stop the fight, then Angelo Dundee was on the verge of stopping the fight in Muhammad Ali's corner as well. So just a brutal, brutal fight. Add to that, as I said, the heat, just the conditions, the time of day, everything like that. It would have been one of the hardest thing either one of them ever did. And this is why we love them so much, just absolute warriors. And they just gave everything. And I know we always say it, but geez, take me back to the 70s, 80s, 90s. That's when there were real fights. I tell you, real fighters. None of the prima donnas of today about who's got the most social media followers and who's got the most likes and who's doing this and who's doing that. Just real fighters. Fighting regularly, fighting in big fights, not afraid of the L's. Just, hey, it's the biggest fight out there, just sign me up. And I know they're well compensated, but you never hear about guys like Ali, Fraser, Foreman, those types got homes, even a little bit later. You never hear stories about them, they ducked this guy and they ducked that guy and we don't know because he didn't fight him or him, like we get these days. Nah, they just fought each other, and that was just the way they rolled back then, and that's why they are so revered. So take me back anytime. All right, now a little bit of goss. We'll get started into some news, so hang on to this one. I'm sure to be announced shortly, but I won't reveal my sources as always. But some goss on the Australian boxing scene. A big double header at the end of November. on the Gold Coast. I hope this comes true because I look like an idiot, but from what my sources are saying, doubleheader on the Gold Coast, end of November. Now, I think one is on the 28th. I'm not sure whether the other one's the night before or 2 nights before, but 2 either back-to-back or with a night in between them. And 2 massive Australian events capped off, or the main one by the fight we've all been waiting for. Michael Zerafa, Nikita Tszyu will take place reportedly on November 28th. And now it was reported that it was going to be the 29th. The rumours were on the Saturday night, but it will be the Friday night, apparently, on the 28th of November. And then I think, as I said, the day or 2 days before that, whatever it might be, will be Liam Paro, Darragh Foley. Now, you might be thinking, Darragh Foley, geez, where's he been, whatever. But I think it's just to keep Liam busy, keep him active and keep him going up the ratings. He wants to keep busy, so Darragh Foley will give him some rounds, I would think. I don't think Darragh Foley's any chance of beating Liam Paro, but at least he'll give him a bit of a fight anyway. So that's the rumours, guys. I'm going to say the day before. So you would think that they would have them night after night if they want to get people up there for the weekend. Well, it's not for the weekend, is it? It's Thursday, Friday. But Liam Paro, Darragh Foley, followed by Nikita Tszyu and Michael Zerafa on the 28th of November. So there you go. That is the word on the street. So it's going to happen. We're going to have Michael Zerafa getting his wish to fight one of the Tszyus. And I know it's not Tim, but it's little brother Nikita. And by all reports, it should be announced in the sort of the next week or 2. So what is it now? The start of October. So it probably makes sense. You know, they'll want a good sort of 6 to 7 week lead into the fight or fights. So keep a lookout for that. So if it is true, big news for Aussie boxing. And if it is the case, I mean, hats off to No Limit for, you know, not just giving us the one card, adding another card. So they could have easily just put Liam Paro and Darragh Foley on the same bill. Probably would have saved expenses. But then again, you know, I'm not sure, it wouldn't be school holidays yet up there. So it's, again, I'm not sure why they would have the 2 back-to-back. But either way, I don't care what a week it will be for Aussie boxing and for Aussie boxing fans to get up to the Gold Coast and maybe spend the week up there and spend some money. That's what the Gold Coast Council would want. And the Queensland government would want us all up there, all us Mexicans up there spending some money. So, yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And, of course, I'm sure everyone will be asking about tips and tips and remarks and all opinions, all the rest of it. I'm going to stick my neck out now, as I did, I think, last week on Talking Boxing. I think Nikita wins his fight. And I think he can actually do it by stoppage. So there you go. It's my early prediction. Nikita Tszyu by stoppage over Michael Zerafa. And I think Liam Paro should handle Darragh Foley pretty easily. And probably get a decision win, or an easy decision win, or maybe even a sort of later round stoppage for Liam Paro. But either way, Aussie boxing fans win if it is the case. And let's hope it is announced sort of in the next sort of week or so, and we can enjoy the build up to one of the biggish type of fights we've had in Australia. Plenty of others ahead of it, but it's big-ish, let's just say. Now, speaking of the Tszyus, Tim Tszyu, I was reading an article yesterday about Sebastian Fundora. Isn't everything's great in hindsight? Where Sebastian Fundora said that he actually sensed something was wrong with Tim in the lead up to the fight. Something was on his mind. Now, we all know what's happened since then, but I don't know, even Sebastian Fundora has sort of bought into, geez, you know, Tim Tszyu lost, what could have possibly caused this, you know? And even Sebastian Fundora saying, well, yeah, now, you know what, in hindsight, it did look like something was on Tim's mind. Strange thing to say by Sebastian Fundora. He did take credit for being the one that, in his mind, pretty much ruined Tim Tszyu's career. We'll see how that pans out now with the new management and training team. But he said Murtazaliev gets the credit for what he did, but he said, no, it was myself in that first fight with the Demons. I put into his mind and then backed it up in the rematch. I don't know. As I said, it's just a strange thing to say by Sebastian Fundora, just to pick up on that. And almost take a little bit away from his own win. That's why it's so strange. But he said when they faced off, you could see in Tim's mind, or his eyes, I should say, that something was a little bit amiss and it wasn't the same sort of fire in his eyes that he had in the first fight. I don't know. Don't know, but as I said again, a very weird thing to say when you've just dominated somebody that you say, well, yeah, he had a little bit of an excuse because his mind might have been on other things like his team. So anyway, and of course Sebastian Fundora fighting Keith Thurman on October 25th. I'll get to those fights for this month actually in a second. Now I just want to comment a little bit further on also this. Now I called it the Zuffa bout. It's apparently called the Zuffa belt. This Dana White thing. In an interview with Max Kellerman, he said that they wouldn't recognise any of the sanctioning bodies' belts. So the WBA, WBC, WBO and IBF, they will not recognise their belts, which but they will recognise the ring belt. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how this benefits boxing. I really don't. How is what they're trying to do benefiting boxing, where they're locking out the sanctioning bodies, so all the other fighters out there with belts won't want to fight their fighters? I mean, they're trying to create this boxing league and all the rest of it. And what the hell, what does Zuffa mean anyway? That is the most ridiculous name I've ever heard of. You know, let's just say Jai Pataya switches over and goes over there and wins the belt, stands up and goes, oh, it's just fantastic to be the Zuffa champion. It just sounds stupid. And what does this do to the Ring magazine belt? Now, they only recognise, who do they think they are that they can just say, we'll recognise this and recognise that? You guys are the newcomers. You guys need to pay your homage, you know, to what boxing has been for however long, centuries, decades, whatever it is. But what does that do to the Ring magazine belt when only Zuffa fighters can actually fight for it and win it and hold it? That obviously dilutes the belt significantly. It's always been the belt in most boxing fans' minds. Yes, it's a magazine belt, but it's always been held in the highest regard above all the sanctioning body belts. What does this do to their belt? So, and what does it do to the existing champions? So let's say Jai Pataya again. He has the Ring magazine, has the IBF belt as well, of course, but has the Ring magazine cruiserweight belt, and this Zuffa thing sort of starts. What happens is he suddenly gets stripped of the Ring magazine belt and they put it on the line to one of the young up-and-comers that they're going to sign. I don't know how it works. Now, it's obviously it's a marathon type of thing for Zuffa and the Ring magazine and Turkey and Dana or whoever else is involved, and it's going to be a long-term process. But how does it work if the fans don't accept that, the fighters don't accept it? Don't forget, there's other promoters like an Oscar De La Hoya, an Eddie Hearn, a Frank Warren, Bob Arum at Top Rank, and others. If they're not part of it, they've got those promoters promote pretty much 95% of the world's best fighters. So, what, are they just going to hand them over to Zuffa? I can't believe I'm still calling it Zuffa. It's a ridiculous name. Someone please tell me what Zuffa means, because it just sounds stupid. So what happens? How does it look? It's great to have these well-laid plans out about what you're going to do, but as I said, it's not like boxing needs them at the moment and the promoters are just going to roll over. I mean, is Oscar and Eddie and Frank and Bob just going to roll over and say, oh, geez, this is a pretty good thing you got going there. We'll just hand all our fighters over to you and relinquish all the belts? And what is the sanctioning bodies going to do? Are they just going to pack up shop and go home? I mean, I don't know. Look, I might be corrected, and I might be wrong, and they might do what they're going to say they're going to do. But I just don't see how the whole thing works if you lock out those fighters that have belts. You lock out, just certain fighters, certain promoters, whatever it might be. This Muhammad Ali Act thing they were talking about as well, apparently that they're not looking to actually change the act. This is Dana White for you again. I like Dana, but he's a classic snake oil salesman. He said they're not going to actually change the Muhammad Ali Act. They're going to add to the act. So he's saying, hey guys, don't panic out there. Don't panic. We're not gonna change the act. So don't get your knickers in a twist. We're actually going to add to it. So what are these additions going to be? So all the things in place will stay. However, these are the different things that have been added that now allow us to do this and allow us to do that. Yeah, as I said, I like Dana, but that's very, very suspicious for me. So look, the jury is still well and truly out as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how they pull it off if it's supposed to be up and comers. And this could be a 20-year operation to drive everyone else out and try and get power. And even with all the money in the world that Turki Al-Sheikh seems to have, how does it work? I don't understand how they're going to get the sanctioning bodies to go away and the other promoters to pack up shop and give up, because they won't. And as much as they might say about this Zuffa belt and the ring belt and all that sort of stuff, fighters still want to fight for those other sanctioning body belts. They want the green belt. You know, they want the WBO belt, WBA and IBF as well. They want those belts. And what does that do to fighters like Terence Crawford and Inoue, who are undisputed champions? Suddenly they're not undisputed anymore because they don't hold the Zuffa belt. And who are they to say that the Zuffa belt means anything anyway? I mean, people say, oh, it's another belt to add to the mix. I mean, isn't it up to the fans whether they recognise the belt? Let's don't forget, there's an IBO belt, there's a WBF belt, I think there's a WBU belt, and the fans and the industry as a whole just don't accept those belts as being legitimate belts. So I think at the end of the day, isn't it really us that form the boxing community? Isn't it up to us whether the Zuffa belt means anything or not? I would think so, because as I said, the IBO belt's been around for quite some time, but boxing fans don't rate it, they don't mention it, it never comes into vocabulary in conversations. So, you know, fighters like Gennady Golovkin and, well, I'm just sort of picking some, I think Roy Jones, they all held the IBO belt, but they never get mentioned in conversation. It's always about the other belts they held. So I think it's up to us whether the Zuffa belt means anything, not up to Uncle Dana, I would think anyway. And if the boxing community and the fans and broadcasters, all that sort of stuff, just treat Zuffa like they do the IBO or WBF or WBU or wherever else bloody belts are out there, then it fails. So I think it's up to us, not Dana. Anyway, we will see. The one thing I will say about Dana and obviously Turki involved, they are winners. They get what they want. They have a history of making things happen. I mean, Dana has done it the hard way, hardish way, I suppose, with the UFC. Turki's just done it all by opening his checkbook, so that's a little bit different. But at the end of the day, both guys get the job done eventually. So I suppose that gives them a little bit of hope, and a bit more clout. But again, I don't see how it works if the wider boxing community just doesn't accept it and doesn't recognise the stupid-sounding Zuffa belt. So anyway, we will see. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it today. As always, give me your opinions and everything. Actually, just quickly, we'll go over. We've just quickly got the fights for the month of October. Quickly, so we've got. Just going through them. So on that same card, so we've got Fundora and Thurman on October 25th. We've also got a Sharky Foster, Stephen Fulton on that card. We've got Joseph Parker, Fabio Wardley in England. That's on DAZN. The other one, by the way, was on Amazon Prime. That is the Thurman and Fundora fight. We've got Jaron Boots Ennis and Usima Lima. That's on October 11th on DAZN. And what was the other one there? Oh, this is the one I'm actually looking forward to. This is also on that October 25th card on, this is on Amazon Prime as well. Jesus Ramos Jr., Shane Mosley Jr. So looking forward to that fight as well, because we obviously spent a bit of time with Shane Mosley Jr. over in the States and watched him spar and got to know him pretty well, and really nice guy. So I'm hoping he can get the job done over Jesus Ramos Jr. And then what was the other one here? We've got Danny Garcia, Daniel Gonzalez on October the 18th. That's pretty much his farewell fight by all accounts. And there was a female fight as well, Michaela Mayer and Mary Spencer on October 30th for I think it's the welterweight titles, I think it is. So big month of October boxing, and as I said before, could be a big month of November boxing if those two Aussie fight cards get announced in the next sort of week or so. So anyway, guys, as always, give me your remarks, opinions, any feedback you might have, and I look forward to talking more about it tomorrow on Walking Boxing. Have a great Wednesday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.